Okay, this is the live calendar Urban brings up at the end of his talk for your reference. For me, this is a good way to remind us to always be aware of time management and our productivity. Now, if I ask you to identify who they are, can you do that? So this one should be the panic monster because from the bubble here, the sounds, you can tell this person is panicking. So this is the panic monster. And the monkey is of course the instant gratification monkey. And this is the rational decision maker. For this week, the final group discussion, I have two questions for you. What do you usually procrastinate on and why? Second, how can people stop procrastinating and getting distracted? So how can you stop yourself from delaying doing something? And how can you prevent yourself from being distracted? So please figure these questions out. And remember to follow the instructions I laid out on Trunk Class. Now, let's recap what we have talked about in conditionals. On the screen, you see the explanation for the third conditional. So when we use the third conditional, we are usually talking about a situation that didn't happen, and we imagine the result of this situation. So one way to help you understand and learn the third conditional is unreal in the past. And for the conditional clause, you need to use the past perfect. And for the result clause, you need to use would have followed by a past participle. And for the second conditional, when do we use the second conditional? We use the second conditional for situations that are the opposite of the present or an imaginary situation. And for the conditional clause in the second conditional, we will use past tense. And for the result clause, we will use would, could, should, might, followed by a base form verb. And for the first conditional, we use it to talk about possible situations that might happen in the present. For the conditional clause, we use the present perfect. And for the result clause, we use future tense, will, followed by a base form verb. Okay, now let's take a look at a practice about the third conditional. This is a letter, okay, from a mother to her daughter. Her daughter's name is Jill. Before I ask you to do this, let me explain the background a little bit. So the mother is telling or explaining how the daughter met the boy and some romantic things that happened between this young couple and the decision the girl made because of this encounter. Now please pause the video and figure out what should be put in the blanks, and you need to use these 6 words. Remember, this is all in the third conditional, so please pause. Okay, I assume you pause and finish all the blanks, so now let's go over the first half of the letter. Dear Jill, if you had not gone to the disco, you would not have met the wonderful boy. So this is a third conditional sentence in the beginning. So my question for you is, did Jill meet the wonderful boy? The answer is positive. And now we are imagine a situation where she did not meet this wonderful boy. And if he, you for the dance, he, you tied. So the answers are, if he hadn't asked you for the dance, he wouldn't have held you tight. So quite romantic, right? They're dancing and holding each other tight. If he want you home, he want you, believe me. So if he hadn't walked you home, he wouldn't have kissed you, believe me. So the mother is explaining how the first kiss happened. Okay, we're listening to quite an experience. Okay, mother. And finally, you him to your party if you in love with him. So you wouldn't have invited him to your party if you hadn't fallen in love with him. So from this letter, we know that the girl met a boy from the disco, and the boy asked him for the dance, and they held each other tight, and on the way home, he kissed her. In the end, the girl, which is Jill, fell in love with him and decided to invite him to the party. Okay, so this is the first half. Now let's take a look at the second half of the letter. So in the second half of the letter, something happened, and the girl did a lot of miserable things. So again, please use the 8 verbs in the boxes and fill in the blanks. Pause, please. Okay, I assume you're done, so let's take a look. But he should have come, which means the boy didn't come. If he what, you miserable. So of course, if he had come, you wouldn't have felt miserable. So the boy didn't come. The girl felt miserable, was really sad. If you the glass of whiskey, ooh. So whenever there is alcohol involved, it is nothing good. So if you hadn't had the glass of whiskey, so the girl drank a glass of whiskey, a very strong kind of alcohol, you wouldn't have decided to go to his place. Okay, so the girl was drunk and she decided to go to the boy's home. If your car, the traffic warden, what you? So if you hadn't driven your car, the traffic warden, so the traffic warden is someone who controls the traffic, who gives tickets to the people who break rules. The traffic warden wouldn't have stopped you. So the girl was drunk and drove the car, and the traffic warden stopped her. And your license if you the breathalyzer test. So the breathalyzer test is a test in which a person needs to breathe to see whether you drink or not. Okay, so and if you wouldn't have lost your driving license if you had passed the breathalyzer test. So in the end, the girl lost not just a boy but also a driving license. So this is a very telling lesson for all of us. When you fall in love, make sure you stay clear-headed. Okay? Love sometimes makes people blind, but at the same time, it makes people crazy. Okay? You will know. So one day you will fall in love. So whether or not you listen to my advice, I'm sure you will still make the same mistakes because these are the mistakes people all make when they fall in love. Okay, back to the lesson. So a few more practice about the other conditionals. So please read the first sentence that tells you the background and decide how the sentence should be written. So the first one gives you a question: what would you do if you had more free time? So do we have more free time now? No. So this is unreal in the present. Of course, we need to use the second conditional. If I had more free time, I would travel a lot. So past tense for the conditional clause, would followed by a base form verb for the result clause. Second one, where would you spend your holiday provided that a sponsor pay for it? So provided here means if. So if a sponsor pay for it. So again, this is unreal in the present. we need to use the second conditional. So provided is the same as if. Here is the conditional clause. We need to use the past tense. And for the result clause, you will use would followed by the base form verb. I would spend it in Provence. Okay, so Provence is in France. The third one, if you had not started this grammar course, what would you have done to improve your English? In other words, did this person take the course? Yes. So this is unreal in the past. We need to use the third conditional. If I hadn't had past perfect for the conditional clause, I to improve my English. I would have gone to improve. Gone to Britain. So I forgot to put down Britain. I will fill in these two words back later. I would have gone to Britain to improve my English. Finally, where will you go at the weekend if you aren't too busy? So this is asking about possibilities in the present. So we will use the first conditional. If I am not too busy, so present tense for the conditional clause. Result clause, future tense, will followed by a base form verb. I will go to see my friend. Okay, so I just used these questions to help you review what we have talked about in conditionals. Hopefully you tackled all the questions properly. If you haven't, please go back to the previous lectures to review and go over these questions again. Finally, 3 things to remind you. Please review the units for the final exams. The units are the human body and time. And complete online unit quiz 4. You can find it under the chapter time. And for the groups that have not done the presentation yet, please be ready for the group presentation. Last but not least, this is our very last lecture. I would like to thank everybody for your participation and effort that you made in this course, and hopefully you have learned a great deal from my class, and I hope to see you again in my course or on campus. When you see me on campus, feel free to say hi and I will say hi back to you. Thank you.